Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing the no disclaimers book tag. I was very kindly tagged by the wonderful Laura at What Everyone Else Is Reading, and I'm a little bit nervous to do this because I am the kind of person who likes to justify my opinions, but obviously I can't on this tag, so we're just going to jump straight in. I will also say that I'm going to link Laura up here and in the description. If you're not following her, you absolutely should be. She's absolutely wonderful. She puts out so much content. She's always got really interesting and really balanced views on the books that she talks about. Our reading tastes are quite different. She reads a lot of horror, which is not really something that I generally dip into very much, and she loves like the Goosebump books and like the point horror and all that kind of stuff, which looks so much fun, and I really enjoy her videos when she's talking about that stuff. But we don't cross over loads, but she's just wonderful, and she kindly tagged me in this. So here we go. As usual, got my red notebook with my notes in. So, question 1, which trope or tropes in books annoy you the most? Okay, my trope, the trope that I will actively avoid at this point is the chosen one trope. It was really popular about, what, 10 years ago, when we had things like Harry Potter, Hunger Games, what's the other one? Oh, I can't think what it's called now. There was like a whole spate of them where the chosen one was like the main driving force of the book. Diversion? No, not Diversion. I can't remember what that series was called. Anyway, there was a whole spate of them, and I read loads of them, and I'm kind of over it. So yeah, that's a trope that I feel like is done, and I don't need to read any more of. Thank you very much. Question number 2, which writer or writers do you feel are overrated or overhyped? Now, this is quite a tricky one. When I was writing my notes, I've written Stephen King because that was my first thought. But as we know, if you've been watching my videos this year, I've actually found several Stephen Kings that I've given 5 stars to. I do think he's overhyped. And I find his writing really uneven for me as a reader. But you obviously can't discount the impact that he has and how important he is to millions of people across the planet. So I'm not going to start bashing Stephen King. I think I've already done that in other videos. So what I thought I'd talk about instead is 3 books that I've read this year that I think are really overhyped and were not as good as I was hoping they would be. And 2 are quite similar and 1 is very different. So we'll start with the 2 that were quite similar. That was Vox by Christina Doucher and The Power by Naomi Alderman. These are both feminist fiction works, both of which have been compared to The Handmaid's Tale, which, as we all know, is my favourite book of all time, and neither of them come anywhere near close to The Handmaid's Tale. This one is set in a dystopian where women are only allowed to speak 100 words a day, which is a terrifying thought, and the society is very dystopian. I do love the cover. I love the cover of both of these, actually. I think they're really interesting, and it's a great setup, but I felt like it ran out of steam about 25% in and then kind of coasted towards the end. And then The Power by Naomi Alderman, again, great cover and very similar actually to Vox. They've both kind of got that Art Deco style. And then this one is set in a dystopian future. Well, in the future, I don't think it's necessarily a dystopian to start with, where women suddenly develop the power to deliver electric shocks through their hands. And it's all about the shift in power, where men start to fear women rather than the other way around. And I felt like it was really interesting, and it had a lot of things to say, but again, about the halfway point it started to lose steam, and by the end I felt like it had really lost its way. So there's definitely 2 books that I feel like got a lot of hype and didn't necessarily deliver on the actual writing. And then this one might be a bit of a weird one to pull out, but it's Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. I read this for the first time this year. I've like seen the Disney film and stuff, knew the story, seen like the stage pantomime. Read the book this year and was kind of left a little bit bemused by it. I mean, this is a lovely edition. It's very nice, very pretty, looked great on my shelf. Peter Pan is hideous as a character. He does awful things. I feel like reading it as an adult, I probably picked up on a lot more than I would as a kid. I felt like he was gaslighting Wendy a lot. No, I don't understand why this is such a beloved classic. Clearly I had some feelings about it because I think it's completely overhyped. Next question. Let's move on from me bashing Peter Pan. Oh my days. What are your least favourite books you've read since joining Booktube? So I've got 2 answers for this. One of them is for the next question. I haven't read loads of books that I've hated since I started Booktube, which is obviously a good thing. And I think that's partly because I haven't been caught up in too much book hype. And also I think it's because I don't read that much YA fantasy, which tends to be the books that get loads of hype here on Booktube. But I recently read Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantaro, which I don't have a copy of because I listened to it on audiobook, for Scooby-Doo-a-thon, which my wonderful friend Simone was running for me, Simone and I. It was the group book, and so I feel really bad saying it, but I really hated that book. And actually, I'll put my wrap-up vlog here so you can see my thoughts as I finished it. But it's one of these books, like, the more I think about it, the more I dislike it. It's basically a Scooby-Doo retelling set when the kids have grown up, and it just was not good to me. Just wasn't good. But yeah, I'll leave my video up there so you can see my thoughts at the time. But yeah, sorry, not a good one. 4, a terrible ending that ruined an otherwise quality book. Now, I did struggle with this question, and actually this book was not great all the way through. I felt like the first 25% was great, and then it went downhill, and then the ending was so annoying that I did want to throw the book across the room. That was The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, which I read for the most recent round of Thrillathon, and again I'll put my vlog up here so you can see what I thought when I finished it. This is set in the woods, obviously. Little girl is outside playing. She's staying there with her dad for their summer holiday, and then a group of strangers approach and tell them that the end of the world is happening, and that family is the only one that can help prevent it. This had a really good setup, was really tense to start with. I was really into it, and then by the end, like I said, I wanted to throw it across the room. So yeah. Next. Wow, I really have some opinions when I get going. Which fictional characters do you wish were not killed off? I felt like talking about character deaths is massive spoilers, and I try really hard on this channel not to give spoilers. And even though the Harry Potter series finished, over a decade ago, I feel like I still shouldn't be talking spoilers of Harry Potter, because there will still be people who are now like growing up and reading them for the first time, or didn't read them the first time round, or whatever. So I'm not going to talk specific characters, but I am going to say, at the end of Deathly Hallows, there are some deaths, and I wish they hadn't happened. And every time I've read those books, like half a dozen times I've read that book, and it still makes me cry every time. And yeah, I think that's all I can say. So yeah, I'm not going to get into specifics because it's spoilery, but Deathly Hallows has got some deaths in it that I was not okay with. Next. What are some of your bookish pet peeves? Oh man. Well, my main one is when an author has got a great setup and a great premise and then wastes it. Paul Tremblay. I used to be a writer, so I know how hard it is to come up with good ideas, and so I find it really frustrating when an author has got this great idea and a great setup and characters and it's pacing well, and then it just doesn't happen. That really hacks me off, both as an ex-writer and as a reader. And then question 7, is this the last question? No, I've got 2 more questions. What are some books you feel should have more recognition? So I have got 3 books to talk about for this, which are all books I've read in the last year, and I feel like they are great books that I've not really seen enough on Booktube, and I feel like this happens quite a bit with adult books, particularly thrillers, and 2 of these are definitely thrillers, 1 possibly not. And I feel like these are really great books that should be out there more and should be enjoyed by more people. So the first one is The Last One by Alexandra Olivia, and actually 2 of these I only knew about because of Harriet. So Harriet Rosie Reeds, who I will put up here. We're following a woman who enters a reality TV show. It's a survival TV show, like a Bear Grylls type thing, where there's a whole bunch of them. They get sent out into the wilderness, and then basically the last one who is standing and like doesn't give up and says they want to go home wins, I think, $1 million or something. And so it's a fairly standard setup to begin with, but then it becomes a psychological thriller because something happens, and the question is, has the game taken a darker turn, but is she still in the game, or has something happened to the outside world? And I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I think it's such clever writing. I really need to find some more books by this author because I was really blown away by it. it's one that I've pushed on like friends and family, and yeah, I would really recommend it. If you're looking for a psychological thriller, this is a really clever one, and it's also got survival elements to it as well, and yeah, I just thought it was fab. The next one is Best Day Ever by Cara Ruda, and I hope I've said that correctly. This is a story about a husband and wife who go away for the weekend, and the husband is planning on murdering the wife. So that's not a spoiler, it's literally on the back. So it says on the back, checklist for the best day ever: drive to the lake house, share romantic dinner, murder wife. Yeah, and it's basically about what happens. And again, I thought this was really clever, and I really liked the perspective. We're in the husband's head, we're also in the wife's head. It's about their dynamic, their relationship, how they've got to this point, and then what happens. And yeah, it's a book that I've not really seen around very much on Booktube or Bookstagram or Book Twitter, and yeah, I would really recommend it. Really enjoyed that one. And then this one is not for everyone, and I would give caution, but it's Gathered the Daughters by Jenny Melamed. This, I think, is also, yeah, it's got The Handmaid's Tale on the front. Obsessed with The Handmaid's Tale, this brilliant book is the one for you. Yes, I can see why it's been parallel with Handmaid's Tale, and actually of all the books I've ever read that has The Handmaid's Tale blurred on the front, I would say this is probably the closest, and I would definitely recommend it, although be careful. This is incredibly dark. We're basically following girls on a small island community, completely cut off from the outside world, where at the age of 12, I think, the girls are basically, as soon as they start their period, they're basically married off so they can start breeding. But before that happens, they have like one summer of freedom left, where literally all the kids are turned outside for the whole summer. They don't come inside at all. They go completely feral. They get into like little tribes in the woods and all that kind of stuff. But this is incredibly dark, and it's one of those books where, as I was reading it, it took me a while to realise exactly what I was reading. So I would give trigger warnings for rape, for sexual abuse, for physical abuse. It's not going to be for everybody. I thought it was fantastic, and I would definitely be looking for more from this author, because the writing was so sharp, and just, yeah, I feel like it should be hyped a lot more than I see it being talked about. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that one. And then question 8 is the last question. What are your thoughts on censorship and banning books? No, is my thought. I don't, obviously in other places in the world there are cultural differences, and they don't want certain things talked about, and they don't want certain things read, but I feel like freedom of speech is very important, and to give everyone the right and the ability to have access to books is really important. Obviously as a parent there are certain things that I don't want Charlie reading just yet, but I feel like that's up to me or us as his parents to make that decision for him. But I don't think banning books helps. Banned books always get read, and it just creates more buzz around it and makes people want to read it even more. So I don't think it's effective, and I don't agree with it. So I am also going to tag 3 people, because I would really like to see your opinions on these topics. You may well have done this video, but at the time of filming it I can't find them on your channel, so I'm tagging you. Firstly, I'm tagging Simone, who I've already mentioned, from Me, Simone and I. I'm also tagging Kerry Ann from Woman vs Books, although she's just had a baby, so I'm well aware it may well be a while before she does this video. And finally, I am tagging Eva from Fred Weasley Died Laughing, because yeah, the 3 of you, I would love to know your thoughts on these. Please leave me a comment below, and if you want to do this tag, you consider yourself tagged by me, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks guys, bye!